It was 11 p.m. and I was driving home from my friend's house. Before I got in the car, or as I got in the car, I had a voice scream, literally scream at me, do not roll through this specific light at this specific intersection. And since that voice was clear as day, I decided to listen to it. There was always this specific intersection that I would roll up to. It was a timed light, or more of a activated light based on motion coming up. So the weight underneath, it was a smart light. And so the light would start to turn. I would basically not have to stop, and then I have to go through. But today I decided I'm gonna stop because something told me to stop. Sure enough, I stop at a green light, which is virtually unheard of for me because I'm always looking to be the most efficient as possible. 2 seconds after the light turns green, a car blows through the intersection doing 60 plus miles per hour, and it would have hit me driver's side door had I not listened to that thought. What is that? Welcome to Break and Build, where we take a break from your day to build your life in a positive way. I am Billy Lutz, and I'm going to be your host today on the podcast. I'm excited to get into this one because it is near and dear to my heart, as all of these issues are that I bring to you guys. I want to make sure that you guys know the inner workings of my mind and what really produces results from what I've seen in myself. So today, what we're going to check out is intuition, and how does intuition play a massive role in your success, in what you're doing, and discerning between intuition and a negative story about something. So let's start off with the story that we opened the podcast with. Every single time I would leave my friend Andy's house in Addison, Illinois, and I would go back to Naperville, there was a specific route that I would take. The route was half highway, half kind of like backside roads. And as you get into some of the suburbs in the Chicagoland area, some of them are what I call smart lights, meaning they are not timed, they are responsive to the traffic. So if there is no traffic coming through in this direction, their sensors are not being activated, and somebody's coming up to the light will start to turn because it sees that it needs to let somebody else in. So they're like pretty intelligent light systems. And so every single time I take the exact same route home because there's no traffic, there's the least amount of traffic signals as well, obviously. And so I leave Andy's house at approximately like 11, I would say 25 p.m. or so. And I sit in my car, and I've never ever experienced anything like this in my entire life. Every single time I tell this story, it gives me goosebumps. I sat in the driver's, and immediately as soon as I sit down, it gave me the exact intersection. I can tell you, it's Hobson Road and Route 53. There is a light. You're coming down this hill, and 53 is an extremely busy kind of like, not a highway, but I would say a suburban highway where there's still lights, but you can go, I believe the speed limit's 50 or so. So most people are doing 55, 60 miles per hour, and it's more of a faster road to get you places as opposed to some of the normal suburb roads. It's kind of like a route. Route 59 in Naperville is more of like this type of road. And so Route 53 is a suburban highway. So I'm coming down on Hobson. I intersect with 53. I go over it. And so as soon as I sat there, it was like, it was like the loudest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. When you get to this intersection on Hobson at Route 53, I even could see vividly what was going to happen. You need to stop today. You do not roll stop this light, because normally what I can do is I'll start to slow down. The sensors will activate because nobody's on the road at that time, and I think it was like a Tuesday or something, so definitely nobody's on the road. Start to slow down. The sensors or magnets or weights or whatever they have going on, I think it's weight plates underneath the street, will see and feel that I'm coming up, and being that there's no cross traffic, it'll then yellow, red on Route 53, and on Hobson I can go straight through that light. And always, always, always I would roll stop it, meaning like I could just start to slow down and I wouldn't even have to come to a complete stop because the light would change and I would be good to go right through. But this day was different. It was like you absolutely must not roll stop this light. And so here I come down Hobson, coming down the hill. Sure enough, I'm a good 100 feet-ish plus away from the light. I'm going down from 40 to 30 to 20, and the light's changing. I can see the cross light changing to yellow, and then I could easily roll stop this light. It goes into red. But today is different, guys. I'm getting goosebumps again. I get chills every single time. Whatever entity out there makes me like literally tear up every single time that this universe was not ready to let me leave at this point in time in my life. I stopped. And it was green. It literally turned green and I stopped. I'm sitting there for a quarter of a second and this car literally blows through this intersection doing at least 65 miles per hour. And it's coming from my left, which would mean it's not gonna hit the passenger side. It's hitting driver's side, 65 mile an hour T-bone. Chances are if I would have went right through that light, that would have hit me directly in my side. And there's probably a good chance that if I'm not at least partially paralyzed or extremely, extremely hurt, that I may not have made it through that accident because that car was going that fast. And so that is an extreme example of what we're going to talk today. Today we're going to talk about intuition versus feelings of programming. We talked about in the last episode where we were talking about playing the movie screen of your mind, not listening to the movie screen of your mind, watching it, observing it, and then taking different actions going forward, because that is a key to success. I think it's oftentimes not participating in this story that our mind has built up and starting to try to change the movie screen projection in your mind by disempowering the projector, by not watching the projector. But there's also a double-edged sword in there that you need to start differentiating the fact that some of that could be a genuine feeling of intuition. Like even though I video every day, maybe like I'm really just not feeling it right now. Maybe there's something out there that I could encounter, such as my drive home from Andy's, that is not gonna serve me in this moment, right? In comparison to, I just don't want that to happen in my mind. So those are two completely different situations and two things that we really need to start honing in on. And I'm gonna start giving you my advice of how I discern the two of them. The crazy thing is, guys, from that story, I literally feel nasal congestion because of how moving that story was for me in my life and how much that really actually changed for me. So I want to start giving you guys a little bit of premise behind this concept. It's kind of a new age manifesting kind of concept. And the concept is that as you get closer to things happening, you can feel them starting to come into play, into reality. So let's just say, for instance, I'm going to take it to Pokemon Go because this happened to me in a video where I was talking about getting a Shadow Shiny Drowsy. If you guys don't know what that is and you're not a Pokemon fan, you're listening to this, it's basically a rare Pokemon encounter that is an alternate color variant that is not commonly coming through. And so on this particular video, I was like getting more excited each and every encounter. It was like I started off the video with one encounter and then I think it was like 2 or 3 in, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of excitement, like bubbling up in the insides of like my gut. Like when I talk about our guts is like our stomach, like in our like solar plexus area. It's like just right in the, I would say, the xiphoid process, which is basically the in between your rib cage, under your heart, in your diaphragm area. You get this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing, like something great is gonna happen. And it happened to be about this Pokemon. And sure enough, I'm like literally feeling excited, like I'm jumping through the roof, and sure enough, boom, that encounter, and I couldn't even believe it because it was like the first time that I really had felt that. And I want you guys to start conceptualizing this concept. And so the same thing can go in the opposite direction if, such as the car accident scenario, I didn't feel good about that scenario and it was warning me that something negative was going to come into my life. So it's not about being positive or negative. It's just about being in tune with what could be happening in your life. And that was one of those scenarios that I was talking about, is that was an intuition. It wasn't a movie screen of my mind making up some story that, like, you know, I saw this car accident on 90210 and I'm scared to drive, right? And that's the movie screen of my mind. No, this was like a full body effect, like, oh my gosh, like this is going to happen. I know it's going to happen and I need to be cautious of this specific thing. As opposed to, I just don't like to drive because I'm scared, right? And that is that's a very heady, egotistical thing. So we want to start discerning what egotistical things are, meaning your ego is kind of like this, can be a runaway train at times. It can listen to the news and start getting these things and programs, and then it can start like being fearful of different things. And then we have the holistic body feeling intuition, where it's like it will literally give you goosebumps, or it'll basically give a vibration, is more of what I call it. It's a vibration. It's like I feel, my whole body feels the vibration of the excitement of the shiny coming, or my whole body feels the anticipation of me not blowing this light because I know that it can. It's like my whole entire nervous system is reacting to this concept, as opposed to like a movie theater in my mind. So I want you guys to start really trying to think about, when I'm going after things in life, is it something that I see as a movie screen and it kind of feels like I'm watching this thing that I really don't believe and I don't know what's going on and it kind of feels weird? Or is it like my whole entire body and nervous system is reacting to this stimuli and it makes me feel alive, or it makes me feel super fearful, or I'm getting this like, you know, anxious feeling, or I'm getting this really, really intense excitement feeling? Because the New Age concept is that as we approach certain areas in our life, when we really want something or really don't want something, the closer we get, the more of a nervous system excitement stimuli we can get if we can start allowing our bodies to be vessels for energy. And so I think that concept is extremely important for all of us to start really taking a step back, and you really have to start watching yourself. Don't be afraid to watch yourself. And you can judge yourself or not judge yourself. It's not about judging or not judging. It's about being observational, being patient, being loving toward yourself, and understanding that like we're just in a game of observation in life. Like we're observing so much stuff on a daily basis that if you can just be more in tune with what you're observing, you can start making such radical changes in your life so much faster than anything else. And so these two different concepts are so incredibly powerful that I don't necessarily believe, personally speaking, that everything said about the manifestation stuff is always true. And I'm going to give you an example of that in my life, is that sometimes when I'm making videos, I may not always feel my best, but I've experienced success even though I'm not feeling my best. And so if that was true, that if I have to always feel great and excited to experience, let's call it more material success, then I've proven that to be different and not on track in my own life. But what I do see is getting in tune with your feelings. So let's say if we take a big deep breath and we breathe through our diaphragm, and we feel like our nervous system expand, our shoulders go back, everything reacts as an organism, and that's more of what we're trying to tune into right now, we can have a much different experience with interacting with our environment than as opposed to like watching a movie. And yeah, sure, it might spark a little fear from a boogeyman jumping out or a demon coming around the corner if you're watching a scary movie, or if you're watching an action movie and everything's just like pow, boom, bang, and it's like exciting your brain through your nervous system. That's one thing. But that doesn't always coincide. And it's a messy topic because you really have to start practicing it for yourself. So the goals today for us, and what I want to leave you guys with today, is to take a moment and start. We already should be doing it from last week, observing our mind as a movie theater. Number 2 is to start feelings from our body that aren't correlated to a mental thought. So our mind thinks one thing and creates a reaction to our body. And then we have things that are just happening and we have a body feeling about stuff, an intuition. It could be interpreted as good or bad, or as happy or sad, or my body's excited or it's demotivated, and our posture can have a lot to do with that. But at the same time, if you can start adding in a second mental benchmark for yourself as watching your mind and starting to feel and get in tune with your body, I think that your experiences in life are going to get a lot different. It's going to start using it as like a navigational tool. Like, think about something, but then try to feel it within your body and see how that makes your entire body feel, as opposed to how it rationally plays out in your mind. Because if you can start pairing the two, you can start really observing your mind and allowing your mind to do this observational movie thing. And you can discern between if it's a programming of your ego and if it's you sitting in reality. And then you can start integrating that and pairing that with a feeling of your body. Now you're starting to sync up something more powerful than you actually even know what's happening. And I don't know what's happening, but all I know is that I've experienced it multiple times. And the more times I've been introduced as this concept of manifestation, and it more comes down to me from what I felt as I'm on the right track. And maybe I'm feeling excited. So I'm going to follow that excited feeling today. And it's just making me move in different way. I'm going in a different direction than maybe I normally would, because I'm getting more excited as I take these steps, and I'm allowing the feeling to control and to pull me like a magnet into a direction, because I feel like my body is on an energetic path towards something great. And then if there's a day where you're having an energetic path where it's ooh, I'm not feeling so great, my whole body's kind of not feeling good about this situation, I would say to listen to that and try to get in tune with that. What is this? What is happening here? Maybe I haven't been eating properly. Maybe I haven't been sleeping properly. Maybe there's something that could happen today. And maybe my body's trying to let me know that I don't want to go down that route today, because there's something happened to me at leaving Andy's house, that this is not the right path today. And so maybe thinking about a different route for the future of that day, and seeing then how then your body starts to react to that stimuli from an internal feeling, maybe there's a way to start feeling, okay, well, this feels a little bit better, because right now I'm thinking about doing this thing in this direction, and I'm really not feeling so good body-wise. It's got nothing to do with my mental movie, but then I'm into this next thing, and I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't feel so good internally, but now I'm gonna go down this path, and now I start to feel a little bit better, a little bit lighter. My body starts to feel a little bit more congruent. So I'm like, okay, let's try this path. So step number 2 in our journey of starting to become more in tune with ourselves, because I truly believe that the ultimate highest good that you can do for yourself is become as congruent, as positive, and as vibrationally in tandem with life in your body as possible. Being one entity, one body, one mind, and you are just literally being able to feel things. And by being able to feel things, you can choose which paths are going to be the most successful for you, because they are already lining up for you, and your body's like, ooh, this is good, or ooh, I did this and I didn't like it, but now, I started speaking to somebody here, and I felt really weird, but now that I changed this and I'm speaking to them in a different manner, I feel even better about this situation. It can be little minute details of your life in all different areas of your life. It's ooh, I was going down this job path, and this is I can't explain it. I think that's a really good way. I can't explain what's going on, but something just doesn't really feel right. Like in the pit of my stomach, like I just don't understand what this is. And then it's like, I went and I talked to my boss about it. My boss was like, okay, I understand. Like, you want to try this. And by him just saying, do you want to try this? I started to get a different feeling, and I was starting to get more excited, and I started to see like a vision of something new, a new step, a new way that the life can start unfolding in front of me started happening immediately with that new energy shift. You've all felt that. You've all had that. You've all been there. Try to find a point in your life back. Go back to that place and think about those feelings, and then start to bring those feelings presently and start walking forward in a new way of life, because having that power of intuition is insanely impactful in your life. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you guys. As always, if there is somebody out there that could be more intuitive, that could be less heady, that could really in tune with their body and being able to get to that next level, I think it would be monumentally powerful to share this video. We want to try to help as many people as possible become more conscious beings, because being more conscious creates more conscious in the world. The more consciousness we can put out, the more change we can make. And I truly believe that our world has become what it has become because of lack of consciousness and strictly based on capitalism. I am not opposed to capitalism. I am opposed to unconscious capitalism, where we are not taking into account how our actions are influencing the environment, and we are strictly taking only into account convenience, price, and efficiency. And if we're only looking at those things and then we don't wrap it up in the gift wrap of how are we affecting the environment around us with our decision based on this, we lose. But if we can bring, okay, I want to make this new plastic. How does it interact with the environment? I want to make this new chemical. What is it going to do to the environment? I want to make a new clothing company. How is it going to impact the environment? I want to start doing whatever it is. And then we can start thinking of maybe how can I do a better deed to make that thing that I want to create a little bit more congruent to our environment. And if we can all start doing that, it's crazy the amount. Like, just for me, I get massive satisfaction in recycling everything I possibly can and throwing out as little as I possibly can. Because I truly believe that you can compost almost everything food-wise. I prefer that everybody's food is organic, because in addition to this, which we will talk about, let's talk this about on our next week's episode, about how our body, the state of our body and the health of our body is going to influence how well we can listen to everything. So we want to make sure that we're eating organic, we're staying on track, and we're doing everything in alignment to start making our body a vessel of pure energy. And the purer our energy can be, the better we can go towards the future. Recycling, composting, organic food, recycling all the recyclables, and throwing away as little as possible, and being as conscious as possible to start changing the world and being more in tune with ourselves. So thank you guys for taking your time out of your day. Make sure to do something good for yourself today and start listening and honoring your temple. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day.